The alarm siren screamed through the corridors of the UES Liberty. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his command chair as the ship shook under enemy fire. Red warning lights flashed across every surface, casting eerie shadows on the faces of his crew. "3 ships closing fast, Captain," reported Lieutenant Amy Chen from her station. "Krillian destroyers, they have us surrounded." Jake cursed under his breath. The Liberty was an exploration vessel, not a warship. They carried scientists, engineers, and civilians. They had no business fighting alien destroyers in the middle of nowhere. "Shields at 30%, called out another crew member. "We can't take much more of this." The ship rocked again. Somewhere in the distance, Jake heard the sound of metal tearing. Emergency crews rushed past his bridge, heading toward damaged sections. The Liberty was dying, and there was nothing he could do about it. "Sir, they're requesting our surrender," Amy reported, her voice tight with fear. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was young, brave, and completely out of their depth. These were explorers, not soldiers. They signed up to study distant stars, not fight wars. "Open a channel," Jake said quietly. "We surrender." The words tasted bitter in his mouth, but he had no choice. Better to live as prisoners than die as heroes. At least some of his crew might make it home. The Krillian boarding pods hit the Liberty's hull like hammers. Jake could hear them cutting through the outer doors, their weapons charging, their boots marching through his ship. Within minutes, tall figures in dark armor filled his bridge. The Krillians were impressive creatures. They stood nearly 8 feet tall with thick gray skin and 4 arms. Their armor was black metal covered in strange symbols. Their weapons looked like they could cut through steel. The leader removed his helmet, revealing a face like carved stone. His eyes were yellow, and they seemed to glow in the emergency lighting. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough. "I am War Leader Zethkar," he announced. "This vessel is now property of the Krillian Empire. You will come with us." Jake and his crew were herded into the ship's main cargo bay along with the other prisoners. Scientists, engineers, maintenance workers. Everyone looked scared and confused. They whispered to each other, asking questions no one could answer. Among the prisoners was Maya Rodriguez, a quiet woman who worked in engineering. Jake had seen her around the ship but never really talked to her. She kept to herself, did her job, and caused no trouble. She was the kind of person you barely noticed. But as Jake watched her now, something seemed different. While everyone else looked terrified, Maya appeared calm. Not the fake calm of someone trying to be brave, but the real calm of someone who had been in situations like this before. The Krillians separated the prisoners into smaller groups. Officers in one area, scientists in another, everyone else scattered around the bay. Zethkar walked among them, studying each face, occasionally asking questions. When he reached Maya, something changed. Zethkar stopped walking. His yellow eyes focused on her with sudden intensity. Maya looked back at him without fear, which seemed to surprise the alien leader. "You," Zethkar said, pointing at her. "Step forward." Maya stood slowly, her movements careful and controlled. She wore simple, work clothes, gray coveralls with the Liberty's logo. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. She looked like any other maintenance worker, but Zethkar was staring at her left shoulder. The alien leader reached out with one of his 4 hands and pulled aside the collar of Maya's coveralls. Beneath the fabric, on her shoulder, was a small scar. It was barely visible, just 3 thin lines crossing each other to form a triangle, with a tiny star shape in the center. The moment Zethkar saw the scar, his entire body went rigid. His yellow eyes widened. The other Krillian soldiers nearby stopped what they were doing and turned to look. "Where did you get this mark?" Zethkar demanded, his voice suddenly different. There was something in his tone that Jake had not heard before. It might have been fear. Maya looked at the scar as if seeing it for the first time. "I don't know what you mean," she said quietly. "It's just an old injury." "Do not lie to me," Zethkar growled. "This is not a random scar. This mark has meaning." "I'm just an engineer," Maya replied, her voice steady. "I fix machines. I don't..." know anything about marks or meanings. But Jake could see that Zethkar did not believe her. The alien leader was studying Maya like she was a dangerous animal that might attack at any moment. His soldiers had raised their weapons slightly as if Maya might suddenly become a threat. "Search her," Zethkar ordered. "Search her completely. Look for weapons, devices, anything hidden." The soldiers moved forward, but they seemed nervous. They handled Maya carefully as if she might explode. They found nothing. No weapons, no hidden devices, nothing but the tools any engineer might carry. "Who are you?" Zethkar asked again. "What is your real name? What is your rank?" "Maya Rodriguez," she answered simply. "Maintenance engineer 3rd class, serial number ME7429 Delta. I've worked on the Liberty for 2 years. Zethkar pulled out a small device and began scanning it. Jake realized he was checking some kind of database, probably looking up Maya's information. "Your records show you are civilian," Zethkar said after a moment. "No military service, no special training. But this mark," he gestured at her shoulder. "This mark tells a different story." "I don't understand," Maya said. "It's just a scar." Jake was confused. He had no idea what the aliens were so worked up about. It was just a small mark on Maya's shoulder. But clearly, it meant something important to the Krillians. Zethkar stepped closer to Maya. "In our intelligence files, we have seen this symbol before. It appears in classified reports, secret documents. It is associated with humans who do not officially exist." Maya's expression did not change, but Jake thought he saw something flicker in her eyes for just a moment. "I exist," Maya said calmly. "I'm standing right here." "Yes," Zethkar replied, his voice low and dangerous. "But according to every database, every record, every official document, you are nobody. A simple engineer with no secrets. Yet you carry a mark that appears only in our most classified intelligence reports." He leaned closer to her face. "So I will ask you one more time. Who are you really?" Maya looked directly into his yellow eyes without flinching. "I'm exactly who I said I am. Maya Rodriguez, engineer, nothing more." But Jake could see that Zethkar was not convinced. Something about that tiny scar had changed everything. The alien leader looked at Maya like she was the most dangerous person in the room. And maybe, Jake realized with growing unease, she was. 5 years earlier, Maya Rodriguez had been someone completely different. The underground facility had no name and appeared on no maps. It existed 3 levels below the Earth Defense Corps headquarters, in a section that was not supposed to exist. Maya walked through corridors that were always empty, past doors that had no labels. She wore black combat gear with no insignia, no rank markers, no identification of any kind. In her hand was a tablet showing her new assignment, a deep infiltration mission into Krillian space that would take her away from Earth for at least 2 years. "You understand what this means?" Commander Alex Turner had asked her during the final briefing. He was a thin man with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked like someone who carried too many secrets. "I understand, sir," Maya had replied. "Once I accept this assignment, Maya Rodriguez will be declared dead in all official records. I will have no backup, no support, no way home unless the mission succeeds. And if you're captured? Earth has never heard of me. The Echo Division does not exist. I am a ghost." Turner had nodded slowly. "The mark you will receive is not a decoration. It is identification. If another Echo operative sees it, they will know what you are capable of. But to everyone else, you are nothing. Nobody." The procedure had been simple. A small blade, 3 quick cuts, a tiny burn to create the star shape. No anesthesia. They wanted her to remember the pain, to understand what she was giving up. Now, sitting in the Krillian prison cell, Maya touched that scar through her coveralls. The pain was long gone, but the memory remained sharp. She had spent 3 years in Krillian space, moving from world to world, learning their language, studying their technology, gathering intelligence that Earth desperately needed. She had been a trader, a mechanic, a dozen different identities. She had killed when necessary, stolen when required, and always stayed invisible. The mission had been a success. She had learned how Krillian ships worked, where their bases were hidden, what their military plans looked like. She had sent the information back to Earth through channels so secret that even she did not know how they worked. But when the time came to return home, everything had changed. Echo Division was gone. Disbanded after a political scandal that Maya had learned about through news reports. The politicians called it an illegal program that violated Earth's commitment to peaceful exploration. They said such groups were unnecessary in a civilized society. Maya had laughed when she read that. Civilized societies only existed because uncivilized people protected them. Rather than return to Earth and try to explain who she was, Maya had chosen to stay dead. She had taken civilian jobs on frontier ships, moved from vessel to vessel, always looking for something that felt like normal life. The Liberty had been her home for 2 years. Captain Morrison was a good man who asked no uncomfortable questions. Dr. Lisa Hayes was brilliant and kind. The work was simple and peaceful. Maya had almost convinced herself that she could be normal. Back on Earth, Commander Turner sat in his office reading a report that should not have existed. According to every database, Maya Rodriguez had died 5 years ago in a training accident. Her body had been buried with full military honors. Her name was carved on the memorial wall. But 20 minutes ago, he had received an impossible message through channels that were supposed to be permanently closed. Maya Rodriguez captured by Krillian forces. Identity compromised. Request immediate extraction. Turner stared at the message for a long time. Officially, he could do nothing. Maya Rodriguez was dead. Echo Division never existed. The whole program was classified so far above his clearance level that admitting he knew about it could land him in prison. But Turner remembered the young woman who had volunteered for impossible missions. He remembered her dedication, her courage, her willingness to sacrifice everything for people who would never know her name. He picked up a secure communicator and began making calls to people who were also supposed to be dead. On the Krillian ship, Sethkar paced in his private quarters, studying intelligence files on his computer. The mark on the human prisoner's shoulder matched images from their most classified reports. But every search for information about Echo Division returned empty results. It was as if the organization had been completely erased from existence. War Leader, his intelligence officer, reported over the communicator. We have completed our analysis of the prisoner's background. Maya Rodriguez shows no military training, no combat experience, no connection to any special forces units. Yet she carries the mark, Sethkar replied. The same symbol we have seen in reports about ghost operatives. Humans who appear from nowhere, complete impossible missions, then vanish without trace. Perhaps it is coincidence. A random injury that happens to look like their symbol? Sethkar looked at the images on his screen. Photos taken from great distances, security footage from raided facilities, sketches drawn by surviving witnesses. In every case, the mysterious human operatives had carried the same mark. There are no coincidences in intelligence work, he told his officer. This human knows more than she is saying. What are your orders, War Leader? Begin advanced interrogation. I want to know who she really is. In her cell, Maya sat quietly on a metal bench, appearing to rest. But she was actually listening to the sounds around her, memorizing the patrol schedules, counting the guards, studying the layout of the ship through vibrations in the walls. Old habits died hard. Dr. Hayes was in the cell across from her, along with 3 other Liberty crew members. They were scared and confused, asking each other questions about their families, about what would happen to them. Maya, Dr. Hayes called softly. Are you okay? You've been very quiet. Maya looked at the scientist. Lisa Hayes was a good person who studied alien plants and tried to understand how life adapted to different worlds. She had never hurt anyone, never carried a weapon, never been anywhere more dangerous than a university library. I'm fine, Maya replied, just thinking. About what? Maya considered the question. She was thinking about the 17 different ways she could escape from this cell. She was thinking about the weapon systems on Krillian destroyers and how to disable them from inside. She was thinking about the fact that her cover was blown and her peaceful life was over. "About how we're going to get out of this," she said finally. Dr. Hayes looked surprised. "You think we can escape?" "Everyone can escape," Maya said quietly. "The question is whether they're willing to pay the price." She did not explain what she meant. Dr. Hayes would not understand. Nobody understood except other ghosts, and all of them were supposed to be dead. But somewhere out there, Maya knew that Turner was making calls to people who did not exist. People who had given up their names, their histories, their very existence, to protect others, people who would not leave one of their own behind. The mark on her shoulder began to ache, just like it had 5 years ago when she first received it. Maya touched it gently and smiled. Some honors ran deeper than official records. Some bonds were stronger than death itself. The Krillians were about to learn that some ghosts were more dangerous than any living soldier. The interrogation chamber was a cold metal room with bright lights and no windows. Maya sat strapped to a chair that was designed to cause pain. Zethkar stood in front of her, along with 2 other Krillian officers. "We know you are not what you claim to be," Zethkar said. "The mark on your shoulder proves this. Tell us the truth and your suffering will be brief." Maya looked at him with steady eyes. "I have told you the truth. I am an engineer. I fix broken machines." One of the other officers activated a device that sent electricity through the chair. Pain shot through Maya's body, but she did not cry out. She had been trained to handle pain. "Your tolerance suggests military conditioning," Zethkar observed. No civilian could remain so calm. "Maybe I'm just stubborn," Maya replied. The torture continued for hours. They used electricity, chemicals, and devices designed to cause maximum pain with minimum permanent damage. Maya endured it all without breaking, giving them nothing but her cover story. But everything changed when Zethkar brought Dr. Hayes into the room. "Perhaps you will be more cooperative if others share your pain," the alien leader said. He gestured to his soldiers, who strapped Dr. Hayes into a second chair. Dr. Hayes was terrified. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking. She looked at Maya with confused, frightened eyes. "Please," Maya said quietly. "She doesn't know anything, she's just a scientist." "Then tell us what we want to know," Zethkar replied. "Who are you? What organization trained you? What is the meaning of your mark?" Maya looked at Dr. Hayes, then back at Zethkar. "I'm nobody important." Zethkar activated the torture device connected to Dr. Hayes's chair. The scientist screamed in pain, her body convulsing against the restraints. "Stop," Maya said, her voice still calm but with a sharp edge that had not been there before. "Tell us the truth," Dr. Hayes screamed again. Tears ran down her face. She was not trained for this kind of treatment. She was just a person who wanted to study plants and help humanity understand the universe. Something inside Maya snapped. "I said stop," she repeated, and this time her voice carried a tone that made the Krillian guards step back. The restraints holding Maya to the chair were designed for normal prisoners. They were strong enough to hold someone who pulled and struggled, but they were not designed for someone who knew exactly how to apply pressure to the weakest points. Maya's left wrist twisted in a way that looked impossible. The metal restraint cracked. Her right hand slipped free using a technique that dislocated her thumb. Within seconds, she was standing in the middle of the room. The first guard reached for his weapon. Maya moved faster than anyone in the room thought possible. Her hand struck the guard's throat, crushing his windpipe before he could draw his gun. She caught his falling body and used his armor to shield herself from the second guard's energy. Blast. The second guard fired again. Maya rolled behind the torture chair, came up with the dead guard's weapon, and put 2 precise shots into the second guard's chest. He collapsed without a sound. Zethkar was reaching for an alarm button when Maya's stolen gun pressed against his skull. "Don't," she said quietly. The alien leader froze. Maya kept the gun pointed at his head while she freed Dr. Hayes from the chair. "Are you okay?" Maya asked the scientist. Dr. Hayes was staring at her with wide eyes. "How did you do that? You moved like like some kind of soldier. I used to fix different kinds of machines, Maya replied. More complicated ones. She turned back to Zethkar. You wanted to know what the mark means? It means I'm someone who doesn't exist, someone who was trained to do impossible things, someone who gave up everything to protect people like her. Maya gestured toward Dr. Hayes. It means I'm exactly the kind of person you should have left alone. Using Zethkar as a hostage, Maya moved through the ship toward the prisoner holding area. She had studied Krillian ship designs during her infiltration mission years ago. She knew where everything was located. The other Liberty prisoners were surprised to see her arrive with an armed escort that consisted of their former captor's leader. Captain Morrison stared at Maya like he was seeing her for the first time. Maya, what's happening? How did you get free? Long story, Maya replied, keeping her weapon trained on Zethkar. Right now we need to get everyone off this ship. But how? We're in the middle of space with no way to reach our ship. Maya smiled grimly. Who said anything about reaching our ship? We're taking theirs. Over the next hour, Maya demonstrated knowledge that no maintenance engineer should possess. She knew how Krillian weapon systems worked. She understood their computer networks. She could read their language and navigate their technology. She armed the prisoners with captured weapons and taught them basic combat tactics. She showed them how to move through the ship's corridors safely and how to identify important targets. Captain Morrison watched his quiet engineer transform into something that looked like a professional soldier. Maya, he said during a brief rest. Who are you really? Maya was studying a Krillian computer terminal, her fingers moving across the alien controls with practiced ease. Right now, I'm the person keeping all of you alive. That's all you need to know. She accessed the ship's communication system and sent out a coded message on a frequency that should not have existed. It was a signal that would be meaningless to most people, but would be clearly understood by others who carried the same mark. She did. The message was simple. Ghost requesting immediate extraction. Multiple civilians in danger. Operational security compromised. Somewhere in space, people who were officially dead received that message and began making plans. But Maya knew they were running out of time. Zethkar's ship was part of a larger fleet, and the other vessels would soon realize something was wrong. She needed to get the Liberty crew to safety before reinforcements arrived. Looking at the faces around her, Captain Morrison, Dr. Hayes, and a dozen other innocent people who had been caught in a situation they never should have faced, Maya made a decision. She had spent 2 years trying to be normal, trying to forget what she was trained to do. But normal people could not protect the ones she cared about. Maya Rodriguez, the engineer, was about to disappear forever. In her place stood something the Krillians had nightmares about, a ghost who was very much alive and very, very dangerous. Listen, carefully, she told the group. We're going to take control of this entire ship, and then we're going home. The prisoners looked at her with new understanding. This was not the quiet maintenance worker they thought they knew. This was someone who had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for a moment when her true skills would be needed. That moment had arrived. The rescue ships arrived exactly when Maya expected them to. 3 vessels appeared on the edge of sensor range, small, fast ships that did not appear in any official Earth Defense Corps registry. They moved with the precision of military craft, but showed no identifying marks or flags. Captain Morrison watched the approaching ships from the bridge of the captured Krillian destroyer. Friends of yours? He asked Maya. Something like that, she replied, studying the tactical display. They're here for me. Maya had spent the last 6 hours teaching Morrison's crew how to operate Krillian systems. It was not difficult. Most alien technology followed similar principles. The hard part was convincing civilian engineers that they could actually fly a warship. Dr. Hayes had proven surprisingly good at operating the weapon systems. It's just applied physics, she had explained when Maya complimented her accuracy. Energy distribution, trajectory calculation, basic mathematics. Now the scientist was coordinating with the approaching rescue ships while Maya accessed the destroyer's computer core. What she found there made her blood run cold. Captain, she called Morrison over to her station. We have a problem, a big one. The Krillian computer contained detailed plans for a massive offensive against Earth's outer colonies. Fleet movements, target priorities, invasion schedules, everything needed to launch a devastating surprise attack. When? Morrison asked, reading over the translated data. 2 weeks, Maya replied. They're planning to hit New Geneva, Port Armstrong, and 3 other colonies simultaneously. Earth Defense Corps won't know what hit them. Morrison studied the invasion plans with growing horror. We have to warn Earth Command. Get this information to the fleet. We can't, Maya said quietly. Officially, I don't exist. If we hand over intelligence gathered by a ghost operative, it will expose the entire program. The politicians will ask questions that can't be answered. So what do we do? Let millions of people die to protect your secrets? Maya was quiet for a long moment, her hands moving across the Krillian controls. There might be another way. The approaching rescue ships were sending coded transmissions requesting immediate extraction. Maya recognized the call signs. Other Echo Division operatives who had given up their lives to serve in the shadows. Instead of responding to their rescue request, Maya sent a different message. Negative on extraction. Have discovered imminent threat to colonies. Requesting permission to continue mission. The response came back quickly. Permission denied. Operational security compromised. Return immediately. Maya looked at the message for a long time. Then, she deleted it without showing it to anyone else. Change of plans, she announced to Morrison and his crew. I'm not leaving. What do you mean? Dr. Hayes asked. The Krillian fleet is gathering at a staging area 3 systems from here. If someone could get close enough to their command ship and access their central computer, they could feed false information into their battle plans. Make them think Earth's defenses are stronger than they really are. Confuse their coordination. Morrison stared at her. That's a suicide mission. You'd have to infiltrate their entire fleet alone. Not alone, Maya corrected. I'd need a small crew to help operate the ship and provide technical support. People who understand both human and alien systems. You're talking about us, Doctor, Hayes realized. You want to take civilian scientists and engineers into the middle of an enemy fleet? Maya nodded. You've all proven you can handle Krillian technology, and officially none of you were ever involved in intelligence work. If something goes wrong, Earth can deny any knowledge of the operation. And if something goes right? Morrison asked. Then millions of people get to live and no one will ever know who saved them. The rescue ships were getting closer, demanding that Maya respond to their extraction order. She could see their weapons powering up. They were prepared to take her by force if necessary. Maya made her choice. She activated the destroyer's jamming system, blocking the rescue ship's communications. Then she sent a message on the Krillian fleet frequency, using codes she had memorized years ago. This is Destroyer Unit Kathavar reporting successful prisoner interrogation, proceeding to fleet staging area with valuable intelligence on Earth. Defenses. The Krillian Fleet Command accepted the message without question. To them, it looked like Zethkar's ship was returning with exactly the kind of information they needed for their invasion. Morrison watched Maya work with a mixture of admiration and fear. You've done this before, haven't you? Disappeared behind enemy lines for months at a time. 3 years, Maya replied. I lived among them, learned their customs, spoke their language. I know how they think, how they plan, how they fight. And now you're going back. Not just me. All of us. Maya turned to face the entire crew. I can't do this alone. I need people who can operate their computers, modify their systems, help me access their command networks. But I won't order anyone to come. This has to be voluntary. Dr. Hayes was the first to speak. You saved our lives back there. Now you're asking us to help save others. I'm asking you to risk everything for people you'll never meet, people who won't even know you existed. Captain Morrison looked around at his crew, scientists and engineers who had signed up to explore the galaxy, not fight wars. They were scared, but they were also determined. How long would we be undercover? He asked. As long as it takes. Days, maybe weeks. Living as prisoners, pretending to be defeated while actually sabotaging everything they're planning. The crew exchanged glances. These were not soldiers, but they were not cowards either. They had seen what the Krillians planned to do to innocent colonies. They understood what was at stake. One by one, they nodded their agreement. Maya felt something she had not experienced in years: the weight of command, the responsibility of leading people who trusted her with their lives. During her Echo Division, days she had worked alone. Now she would be responsible for keeping civilians alive in the most dangerous possible circumstances. The rescue ships were still trying to break through the jamming, still demanding Maya's immediate return. She knew her former colleagues were frustrated and worried, but they would understand eventually. Some missions were more important than following orders. Some honors required disobeying the very people who had taught you about honor in the first place. Maya programmed a navigation course toward the Krillian staging area. The destroyer's engines powered up, carrying them deeper into enemy space and further away from any hope of rescue. "Are you sure about this?" Morrison asked quietly. Maya touched the scar on her shoulder through her stolen Krillian uniform. "I've been dead for 5 years. If I have to stay dead a little longer to protect the living, that's a price worth paying." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its crew of unlikely spies toward the heart of the enemy fleet. Behind them, the rescue ships finally broke through the jamming, only to find empty space where their target had been. Maya Rodriguez had vanished once again, taking with her the only people who could stop an invasion that would change the course of human history. The Krillian fleet was magnificent and terrifying. Maya stood on the bridge of their captured destroyer, looking out at hundreds of warships arranged in perfect formation. Each vessel was larger than anything in the Earth Defense Corps fleet. Each one carried enough firepower to level a city. "My God," whispered Dr. Hayes, staring at the tactical display. "How many ships are there?" 347, Maya replied, reading the fleet roster. "Enough to overwhelm every human defense in the outer colonies." Captain Morrison joined them at the viewing port. Over the past week, he had learned to move and speak like a Krillian prisoner. All of Morrison's crew had taken on their roles perfectly. They appeared broken and defeated while actually preparing to save millions of lives. "The command ship is that one." Maya pointed to a massive vessel at the center of the formation. "The Kethmore. That's where their fleet coordination systems are located." "How do we get aboard?" Morrison asked. "We don't," Maya replied. "I do. You stay here and monitor communications. If this goes wrong, you take this ship and run for Earth. Space. Warn them what's coming." Maya had spent the week studying the Krillian command structure. She knew their protocols, their security procedures, their blind spots. She had also been sending false reports to Fleet Command, describing Earth's defenses as much stronger than they actually were. The deception was working so far, but it would not last much longer. Soon the Krillians would launch their attack, and Maya's small sabotage efforts would not be enough to stop them. She needed to reach the fleet's central computer and introduce a virus that would cripple their coordination at the crucial moment. But the Kethmore was the most heavily defended ship in the fleet. "There is another way," Dr. Hayes said quietly. "Something we've been working on." Over the past few days, the Liberty's science team had been studying Krillian computer systems. They had discovered something interesting. The aliens used quantum communication networks that could be infected with specially designed code. "If we can introduce the virus into any ship connected to the network, it will spread to every other vessel instantly," Dr. Hayes explained, "including the command ship." Maya looked at the scientist with new respect. "That's brilliant, but the timing has to be perfect. We need to activate it just as they begin their attack run." The invasion was scheduled to begin in 18 hours. Maya and her team had that long to prepare their sabotage and get into position. But their plans changed when Zethkar appeared on the bridge. The alien war leader had been unconscious for most of the week, recovering from injuries he had received during Maya's escape. Now he stood in the doorway, his yellow eyes filled with rage and understanding. "You are not prisoners," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "You are saboteurs." Maya's hand moved toward her concealed weapon, but Zethkar was faster. He activated an alarm that brought a dozen armed guards to the bridge within seconds. "Search them," Zethkar ordered. "Find their weapons, their equipment, everything they have hidden." The guards found the virus program Dr. Hayes had been developing, along with weapons and communication devices Maya's team had been hiding. Their cover was completely blown. "Take them to the detention level," Zethkar commanded. "Separate cells, maximum security." As the guards led them away, Maya caught Dr. Hayes' eye and nodded slightly. The scientist understood. They had prepared for this possibility. Hidden in the ship's engineering section was a backup copy of their virus program, along with a timer that would activate it automatically. Even if they were captured, the sabotage would still proceed. But Maya knew the timing would be wrong. The virus would activate too early, alerting the Krillians to the danger before they committed to the attack. They would have time to adapt, to change their plans. The invasion would still succeed, and millions of humans would die. In her cell, Maya studied the walls and ceiling, looking for any possible escape route. The detention area was built like a fortress. There was no way out through conventional means. But Maya was not conventional. She had one option left, something so dangerous that she had hoped never to use it. Hidden in her body, embedded under her skin during her original Echo Division training, was a small explosive device. It was designed to be her final option if capture seemed inevitable. The explosive was not large enough to damage the ship's hull or hurt anyone in nearby cells, but it would be enough to breach the detention area's security systems and create a distraction. It would also kill her instantly. Maya touched the scar on her shoulder one more time, thinking about the choice she had made 5 years ago. She had given up her name, her life, her very existence to protect others. Now she would give up the rest. In the cell across from her, Dr. Hayes was working frantically with pieces of equipment the guards had missed. She was trying to build a communication device that could reach the virus program and correct its timing. "Maya," she called quietly. "I think I can fix this. Give me another hour." Maya looked at the scientist, this brilliant woman who had volunteered to risk everything for strangers. Dr. Hayes deserved better than to die in an alien prison cell. "You don't have an hour," Maya replied. "But you do have a chance." Maya activated the explosive. The blast tore through the detention area's security systems, opening every cell door and disabling the alarm networks. In the chaos that followed, Dr. Hayes escaped with her improvised communication device and reached the hidden virus program. She corrected the timing with minutes to spare. When the Krillian fleet began its attack on New Geneva, their coordination systems failed catastrophically. Ships received conflicting orders, weapons targeted friendly vessels, and navigation systems sent entire squadrons in wrong directions. The invasion became a disaster. Earth Defense Corps forces, warned through unofficial channels, were ready and waiting. The surprise attack became a defeat that crippled Krillian military power for decades. Hundreds of millions of human lives were saved. 3 months later, Captain Morrison and Dr. Hayes returned to Earth aboard the Liberty. They carried with them a full report of everything that had happened, including detailed documentation of Maya's actions. But when they tried to file their report, they discovered that Maya Rodriguez had never existed in any official capacity. There were no records, no service history, no acknowledgement of her sacrifice. Commander Turner met with them privately and explained about Echo Division, about the operatives who gave up everything to serve in the shadows. He arranged for a small ceremony at Arlington Memorial. The marker was simple, just a black stone with no name, no rank, no service dates, only a small carving, 3 intersecting lines forming a triangle with a star at the center. Dr. Hayes visited that marker every year on the anniversary of the battle. She brought flowers and stood quietly, remembering a maintenance worker who had been the most dangerous person she had ever known. Other people visited too, men and women who carried similar scars, who understood what the mark really meant. They never spoke to each other, never acknowledged their connection, but they all understood that some honors run deeper than official recognition. In Krillian space, intelligence reports began referring to the triangular scar as a symbol of ultimate danger. Young officers were taught to watch for it, to report any sighting immediately, to never underestimate anyone who carried such a mark. The symbol became a legend among Earth's enemies, a warning that humanity's most dangerous warriors were often the ones you would never see coming, because officially, they did not exist at all. Maya Rodriguez had achieved something remarkable. She had become both forgotten by history and legendary among those who truly mattered. The mark that kept her off every military roster became her most enduring monument. Her sacrifice was known only to a few, but those few would never forget. In death, she had earned the deadliest honor of all, the respect of ghosts who understood that some battles could only be won by people who were willing to disappear forever. The scar that had marked her as nobody had become proof that she was somebody very important indeed.